Have you ever bought something with the wrong tag? Well, that's what's happening with the African Blue Basil. Another basil is being passed as the African Blue Basil. So what is it? Well, let's talk about this. I'm Sabrina from Campbell's Freedom Farm. Now, this is the true African Blue Basil, and it's just amazing. It's the best basil to ever to attract bees, and I mean they swarm it. So this is the African Blue Basil with the really dark stems. Now you know when you have this plant, if it has the purple stems and it has veins. Let me get one of these underneath that have purple. If it doesn't have this, it's not African Blue Basil. Now, let me show you the parents. But this is actually the Camphor Basil, which is one of the parents. And the whole thing, stems are not purple, the leaves don't have this, and we'll get into the flower. And the other parent, which is my favorite cooking basil, is the Dark Opal Basil. And this is where it gets the coloring on the stems and the leaves. And in the young African Blue Basil, they're purple, just like the parent. And the more sun they get this hint of greenish, purplish leaves, always dark, always smooth, just like the Dark Opal Basil. Now, the basil that they keep trying to pass on has almost more fuzzy, lightly fuzzy leaves. They're large, but they have a different scent. Now, the Camphor Basil, also known, this should have been a big hint, as the African Basil, has 61% of compounds of camphor. That's why it's named the camphor. The African Blue Basil only has 22% of this compound. Both of them are really harsh tasting to me. I still use them for teas and stuff, but really I use them when they're perennial, which is great for basil. Two, that they're both perennials, and that's always nice. I bring them in. Now, let's talk about the African Blue Basil. Sorry for the phone ringing. Peter Borchard from a nursery in Ohio stumbled across this, and after evaluation and testing, they found out what it is. Now, and it was really slow to spread because really there's only one way to get this plant and or propagation of it, and it's by cuttings, which I took one to show you. So a lot of people are selling the African Blue Basil seeds online, individuals and nurseries. That's a surprise because this plant is sterile. It can never have viable seeds. So the seeds they are selling are from the parent Camphor. Camphor seeds are just great, you know. Actually, they propagate really well, I think. And so this is a real issue. Then when the epidemic hit, for some reason, nurseries didn't pay attention to this plant. I don't know what happened to it. So there were no cuttings to sell, you know, turn into plants. So they're passing off this plant. There's only one nursery, and I've searched from St. Louis all the way down Texas, and except for this one nursery, and I'll link everything in the description, has this. And I talked to them before I did this video and told them what was going on. They said, yeah, they have a section in their greenhouses that's just allocated for propagating and spreading this basil as much as they can. It's the Wiethop Nursery or Greenhouses. It's in St. Louis. I don't know if they ship, but it might be worth going to St. Louis and doing all the fun events there are there. So the other nurseries, they're not doing it. I have somebody checking in Chicago. Hopefully it was a viewer. I hope you're checking. But I just want people to know what they're buying. They're not buying the African Blue Basil when they're buying this. They're buying the African Basil, as they call it, or the Camphor Basil. I call it the Camphor Basil. There's no question. Now, if you get hold of one of these are great for house plants in the winter. I would not throw this at the end. I would take a couple cuttings, which is easy. All you do is just cut. Save these for tea if you want. And then just put it in water. And, you know, within a week or so, it'll start rooting. Now, where to put this basil when you plant it? Anywhere that you have something that needs pollination, such as a vegetable garden, flower garden, and this is all you need. Well, a hyssop plant would be great too, and we'll go into that. But this, Sabrina from Campbell's Freedom Farm, in the comments, put where you get your African Blue Basil, or if it turns out that it's not the true African Blue Basil. And I'm going to do a quick YouTube short for the weekend so people could see this too. This is Sabrina from Campbell's Freedom Farm. Go find your African Blue Basil and let me know. And please subscribe and thumbs up.